Hey guys, my name's Phil. It's Tuesday, it's vaguely noonish. Let's do one of these Tuesday at noon videos. This week I thought I would talk about something a little bit more serious than what I usually talk about on here. I should say this first. Before I get going, I am not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. I see a therapist, and I have a psychiatrist who's a friend and client, but that by no means qualifies me for anything. But I find the more people that talk about these things and tell you it's okay to get help for them, the more likely you are to get some help for them, right? So I just would like to talk a little bit about getting some help when things aren't quite right upstairs. I struggle with anxiety stuff myself personally. I have a condition, well, I have a phobia actually, that without going into too many details, manifests very similar to claustrophobia. When I'm in a place where I can't leave, I start to get very anxious, you know. I get a little bit short, I get angry a little bit, you know, for no reason. Not to be confused with my normal disgruntled self in the morning before I eat some breakfast. I have been getting a bit of help with my own personal anxiety symptoms. Mine are very specific, which by definition makes it a phobia, which is always fun. Because of my phobia, I've been avoiding certain situations. Getting on the train sometimes can be, for long periods of time, can weird me out. I'm putting in the work with some exposure stuff and getting better at it. I can get all the way into the city and back with no problem now, usually. If your anxiety symptoms don't show up in relation to a very specific situation, you could have all kinds of stuff. It could be just generalized anxiety disorder, and there's panic stuff, and there's all kinds of stuff that can mess with your head. The reason I wanted to talk about this stuff now is it is currently Saturday afternoon. Usually I shoot on Sunday, but I've got a show. There's a bunch of stuff in this thing that, in this one gig in one day, that could possibly trigger my anxiety responses, right? The drive up there could set me off. The 3 sets with no rehearsals, that could set me off. Playing with someone I've never played with before, that could set me off. We might not drive all the way back tomorrow night, which means I might spend the night up there and then drive back Monday morning. And like if something comes in with the business or something happens at home, you know, that could set me off. So it's a good weekend to practice all the things that I've been working on with the help of my therapist. If you find yourself avoiding situations that could potentially be make you anxious, make you upset, make you then you might want to go talk to somebody. You know, just have a chat with your GP. That's always the best place to start. Just go in and have a chat and say, hey, look, I've been doing this happens, you know. Every time I look at clowns, my skin feels like it's trying to escape. Every time I leave the house, I break out in you know, a cold sweat and I fall down. Like all these things, like those are very specific phobias. Phobias are strange. They are, by definition, irrational, right? So if they don't actually make any sense, see somebody, you know, talk to somebody. You know, your GP might be like, well, you know, maybe you just had 18 cups of coffee that day and you were just twitchy from that, or you know, maybe you went to that and you're, you know, twitchy from that. You know, there's all kinds of things other things that could be happening. The absolute worst thing you can do is Googling your symptoms. It's just a terrible idea. Talking from my own personal experiences, always go talk to your doctor if things are weird. If anything feels weird, you know, a weird lump, a weird thing your brain's doing, you know, you can't stop fixating on something, you know, go talk to your doctor. Because not knowing what's going on is the scariest thing in the world about these kinds of things. You know what I mean? Before I went to talk to my doctor about my weird thing, I was freaking out. I Googled my symptoms again, and it was like, there's about 6 different cancers that in theory could be related to what I go through. There's severe dehydration, sunstroke, heat stroke, all kinds of stuff that my thing could be a manifestation of. Diabetes, maybe, even like apparently UTIs, like into sexually transmitted stuff, and like all kinds of weird stuff could potentially come from my symptoms. So I went to see my doctor, and we ticked off we just went through a checklist and we ticked off all this physical symptom stuff, and there's nothing wrong physically. So it was like, okay, well, we'll go see a therapist. And then I learned what my phobia was, and it became manageable, right? It has a name, it is a thing, there's nothing to be scared of anymore. This is the thing, this is how we deal with the thing, right? It's going to be a lot of work, but it is a thing, right? That day, the second session, second time I went back to see my therapist, and he said, this is what it is. I had to do a bit of research because it's a bit unusual, because, you know, what the heck? That's me. But this is what it is. And it was like weight off my shoulders, and I felt, you know, I was 10 feet tall all of a sudden. You know what I mean? It was like, this is not going to kill me. I am not going to die. There's no need to catastrophize. Fantastic word again. There's, you know, I will be fine. You know, fantastic feeling. When you are, before you know what's happening, you will get into this bizarre feedback loop, right? Like we all know feedback on stage. You know, the microphone picks up a sound that comes out of the speaker, and then it goes back and comes out of the speaker and goes back into the microphone, and becomes this loop, and goes bigger and bigger and louder and louder. The brain does the same thing. You take the information, and then you go to the worst possible case, and then the worst possible case feeds back into the original situation and seems bigger because the worst possible case is bigger, which then makes the thing bigger, which makes that bigger, which makes, you know, and before you know it, you're panicking, you're sweating, your heart's racing, you're just freaking out on a train in the middle of nowhere on your way to Paran. And you don't know why, or you're, you know, irritable and shouting at your loved ones, your friends and family or whatever. But knowing what this is, what the original symptom is, I'm doing a little puppet show here. Knowing what the original symptom is takes the power out of the catastrophizing, right? This all of a sudden becomes this little thing that you can deal with, which makes this nothing, right? So you deal with this and you carry on with your life, as opposed to this hitting this, and then this getting bigger, and then this getting bigger, and this getting bigger. Hi, buddy. Also, get a furry little buddy. Get a furry little buddy to hug every now and again. Makes life better. Oh, there's cat hair on my microphone. And my boobs. My boobs are covered in cat hair. There is, here in Australia, a fantastic organization, very cool organization called Beyond Blue. I'll put a link down in the doobly-doo, but it's beyondblue.org.au. I'm cheating, I've got my handy-dandy machine. They deal specifically with depression and anxiety stuff. They're amazing. They're very cool. They do all kinds of cool stuff. Check out beyondblue.org.au for more information. Talk to your GP. I'm sure there's probably a depression anxiety hotline everywhere you are, wherever you are. In the States, there's got to be something. There's 300 million of you. Hopefully, you guys can get some help if you need it. But that's what's been going on this week. It's what I've been thinking about talking about. A bit heavy, but that's okay, I guess. It's good to get heavy every now and again. This is life. This is your life. You get one chance. You know, do it right. If you're not having fun, find out why it's not fun. You know, if you're not enjoying it, do what makes you happy. You know, and if you can't figure out why you are having these weird things, then go talk to somebody. You know, sort your stuff out. Sort your brain out. You'll be a better person for it. You'll be a better bandmate. You'll be a better musician. You'll be a better human being. In theory. Or at least a better version of yourself. A happier version, healthier version of yourself. You know, the old taboos about mental stuff being bad, being something to be ashamed of or afraid of or shy away from, is complete bullshit. Everything will be okay. So, like usual, like always, share and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. I promise I'll do a little bit of a lighter one next week. Tell everybody you know, tell everybody in your band who is weird on the road. If someone's just freaking out in the bus or the van or whatever for no reason, tell them to go talk to somebody. You know, they might physically be fine, but have some things some screws that need tightening upstairs. See you next Tuesday.
That's awful. Why did I say that?